Welcome to In Good Company, where relationships drive results, with your host, Lisa Kilray. In each episode, we explore how great leaders build trust, inspire teams, and turn meaningful connections into real success.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kilray, host of In Good Company, where relationships drive results. Today's episode is sponsored by WSI eResults. At WSI, we help manufacturers and B2B organizations build the strategic foundation they need for AI-driven growth. Our work spans digital strategy and roadmaps, SEO, content development, and multi-channel digital programs designed to drive measurable bottom-line results. Recently, a current client of ours said, "I'm so glad we started this journey with WSI when we did. That early strategic work is really why they're showing up across AI search and large language models and are attracting high-quality leads for complex, high-value equipment from throughout the world." To learn more about WSI, visit www.wsi-manufacturing-marketing.com. And now let's get into today's conversation. Today we're joined by Maddie Witt. Thank you so much, Maddie, for joining us again on In Good Company.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. So just to give you a quick intro, Maddie is the marketing manager at Thompson Retractor and has been part of the Thompson surgical team since 2017. She holds a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from the University of Dayton and began her career at Thompson as an assistant product manager. Over the years, Maddie has held the titles of product manager, clinical specialist, and now marketing manager with extensive intra-departmental work. Of her 7 years with Thompson Surgical, 5 of those were spent in the field alongside surgeons using the Thompson Retractor. She brings a rare hands-on perspective shaped by her direct clinical experience and close collaboration with product, marketing, engineering, and sales teams. Again, welcome to the show, Maddie. I'm super happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with for some of those people who have missed the first episode or the last episode that you were on, let's start with a quick review of Thompson Surgical. So Thompson Surgical designs and manufactures medical equipment related to surgical retractor systems used in complex procedures with a strong focus on liver, spine, and cervical applications. Can you tell us from your words what Thompson Surgical does and who you ultimately serve?
Yeah, we ultimately serve surgeons and OR staff. And what we do is we create table-mounted retractor systems. So that is a tool that holds a patient open during surgery and it mounts directly to the table. So we provide very stable and strong retraction to our surgeons and OR staff.
Okay, great. So with that context, I'd like to spend the rest of our conversation today focused on one of your very specific systems, the anterior lumbar ring retractor, otherwise known as ALIF. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, so ALIF is the procedure that the anterior lumbar ring serves.
Okay. So for those people who are not familiar with it, what is the retractor exactly and how is it used during ALIF procedures?
Yes, so the anterior lumbar ring is a ring shape. It sounds like what it is. It's a ring shaped retractor, and it is used for these ALIFs, which ALIF is anterior lumbar interbody fusion. And so that's a spinal procedure and where they access the spine through the belly. So the ring then it goes around and is placed like right above the patient's belly, and then retractors are set up on top of that to expose the spine for the surgeon and allow him to finish the procedure.
Okay. So why is the anterior lumbar exposure considered more complex than other spinal approaches?
There is a lot of important anatomy when you're going through the belly and accessing the spine,
Yeah.
as you can imagine. So one of the major things is that you are needing to get around some major vessels that are there. So it's the aorta and the iliac vein and artery. And nicking one of those veins could cause some major bleeding. So you have to make sure that you have very reliable and stable retraction and you're able to get around those vascular structures in order to get to the spine.
Okay. So, what would you say are some of the biggest exposure challenges surgeons face during anterior lumbar spine procedures?
Well, definitely that.
Yeah.
Getting around
Yeah.
the vessel.
Bleeding.
Yes, the bleeding. And just being able to see also that deep into the belly as well. It's a very deep incision. So you need to just have really great exposure overall. Definitely the major challenges is just getting around those vessels and making sure that you have something that's safe and getting access to that spine.
Right. So, at what point in the procedure does retraction become most critical?
Um, the most critical part of the retraction is probably the L4 and L5, and that's when you're having to mobilize and retract those the veins. So that is definitely the most critical part of the surgery.
Okay. And I guess that makes me wonder, like, what gaps or limitations in existing retraction approaches led Thompson to develop the anterior lumbar ring retractor set?
Yeah, so we had a surgeon, Dr. Shuff. He came to us with these issues specifically. He said, I need something that's stable and strong in order for me to get to access the spine, and so he is actually an access surgeon, meaning he's the one who gets in there and provides the access for the spine surgeon who then comes in and actually does the ALIF on the spine. So Dr. Sheff was like, I need a system that is going to allow me to get in there and access all of these vessels. Um, and I need something that's not slipping, it's not flexing under heavy retraction, I'm not having to reset it multiple times, something that's reliable. So he came to us with that. So we knew that there were other platforms out there that were kind of falling short of those needs. And we thought, okay, well, I bet we can make this better. And we provided all of those things for him. We worked alongside him very closely and created something that now he's not having to reset every, however long it was taking when his blades were slipping. He just sets it, forgets it, and can continue his procedure.
That's amazing. So, I mean, I think that's a great example of, the title of this show is, in good company, relationships drive results. And
Yes,
this relationship with Dr. Chef certainly produced good results for him and
absolutely.
for many other surgeons, I'm sure. So, was this really driven primarily by surgeon feedback or team feedback or both?
Kind of both. We had heard in the field that ring retractors were falling short, and this is before we even had a ring retractor ourselves. We have multiple different platforms that you can set up our retractors on that are not necessarily the 360 ring. And we had
Hmm.
heard from other surgeons and OR staff that their ring retractors just were not working out. So when Dr. Chef came to us, we were like, okay, we can make something better. We can definitely do something where we're getting that ring, that 360-degree exposure and improving upon this. So it was really both
Okay.
feedback and surgeon.
Okay. So what makes this particular design effective for this procedure compared to other retraction approaches?
So there are, as I said, different styles of retraction that you can use, but the benefit to the ring is that it does have that 360-degree platform, so you can place your retractor blades anywhere along that circle. It allows for the incision then to be a circle in the belly. And you're not having to enclose a frame with like multiple pieces potentially to get that retraction, whereas
Hmm.
you just have it's a big metal circle and you place it right over the belly. And then that way you're not having to maybe build a frame to be enclosed. And it's just a really quick and easy way to achieve that retraction.
Okay. So how does the ring frame improve stability and visualization?
So I guess it's just having that 360-degree space. You don't really have to think about how you're going to set up the retractor when you already
Hmm.
have that 360-degree enclosed area. You don't have to think about, okay, I need to put the retractor here and here. You can just kind of slide the retractors around if you need to. You can just quickly clip them on. So I think that probably improves the visualization quite a bit by easing up your workflow.
Okay. And what does that stability, that additional stability that's provided, what does that allow the surgeon to focus on during the case?
Yeah, it really allows them to focus on the procedure, not having to think about, oh gosh, that retractor slipping, or I can't see what I'm trying to access. They can
Mhm.
set it and forget it. They don't have to worry about that, and they can just focus solely on the procedure, which is definitely what you want a surgeon to be doing when they're operating on you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Tell me a little bit about your blade selection and the configuration that helps the surgeons adapt the system to different patient anatomies and lumbar levels.
We have a wide variety of blade options. Um, we have anywhere from 18 millimeter wide, which is really small, which are for MIS incisions, up to a standard 25 millimeter blade, which is usually what you see in the field. It usually doesn't get much larger than a 25 millimeter wide blade. And that's because you don't want to be doing anterior lumbar surgery on once you get to a certain like BMI level, you don't want to be doing interior access, you would do a posterior. Um, so we offer a very large selection of blades, but most of them kind of stop around 25 millimeters. We do give you the option to have much larger if that's what you prefer. But most surgeons aren't operating on patients that have that higher BMI anteriorly. Um,
Okay.
we've got also like vast variety of styles as well. So we really accommodate any surgeon's needs. And on top of that, if a surgeon has something specific that they really want that we don't offer in our normal product line, they can work with us to create a custom size, blade, and style if that's what they prefer as well.
Okay. So are those different blades, sizes and styles, are those really geared towards the different type of procedure or the different type of patient, whether it be their size of the person,
Um,
age?
Yeah, probably size, mostly size. With this anterior lumbar ring, you're going to mostly be seeing them doing ALIF procedures. So really just one style of procedure, different levels of the spine, definitely, but mostly the same procedure. So it's going to be more like depth, the depth that they need to access, and maybe certain anatomies that they're trying to retract with the different style blades.
Okay. Okay. So do surgeons tend to standardize their setup over time or adjust case by case?
Kind of both. Surgeons definitely will standardize their setup. Once you use the Thompson multiple times, you really get a feel for how it works and how it will integrate into your workflow specifically. But that being said, obviously different patients require um, maybe different setups, a little bit of altering here and there based on the way that their anatomy is. So they will
Right.
adjust if they need to, but most of the time, the workflow is really standardized and it's really quick to set up. Um, it takes maybe less than 2 minutes for them to set
Oh,
up their system.
okay. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so from a real world OR perspective, how does this system change workflow for surgeons and the surgical team?
Yeah. In a real world perspective, um, I would say that it really standardizes their workflow because they know exactly how they're going to be setting up the system every single time. It's going to have these specific parts. They know how they like it set up. They will do that. And as I said, they can accomplish it in less than 2 minutes. Um, a lot of the time, surgeons will even have their staff set up the system almost prior to the procedure starting. They'll get a lot of the things that don't need to necessarily be connected to the table yet, set up on the back table. And then that way they can just have them pass them the parts that they need really quickly and set it all up right there. So that part of it gets really standardized. And then also, just having a table mounted retractor that's stable and is providing exposure for them during their case is huge because they're not having to reset the exposure. They're not having to have somebody come in there and manually hold a retractor. It's just all real quick and easy. They're not having to um, reset the retraction during the case. They can focus primarily on the patient, what they're doing, and not have to worry about the
Hmm.
retraction need at all.
Okay, that's great. So how does reducing manual retraction affect fatigue during longer cases?
I have actually met staff that has that have rotator cuff surgeries from holding retraction for
Oh
a
man.
long time. Yes, and these anterior lumbar surgeries can be upwards of 4 to 6 hours. Um, so you definitely want to have something that's holding the retraction for you rather than you
Right.
doing the retraction yourself. Having it be table mounted provides a very stable platform because nothing's going to be moving around there. And I've also heard surgeons say about the Thompson that it is the assistant that does not complain.
Oh, that's a plus.
Right.
So,
So there's no,
okay.
I guess is the answer.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, where do you see the biggest efficiency gains, whether it be setup, exposure, or maintaining exposure?
Let's see. I guess the Thompson really saves times in all of those areas. Um, but maintaining exposure probably is the best, right? Because you have this system that's going to hold exposure for the entirety of your procedure. It's not going to slip or fail, and it stays put and doesn't complain.
Right. That's the key.
Yes.
So, how quickly do surgeons typically become comfortable using the retractor set from Thompson?
I would say it takes them a couple times to set it up, probably 2 to 3 times. You definitely need to feel it out. It is a very modular system. It requires some mechanical thinking in the very beginning, but once you tinker with it a little bit, you're able to set it up very, very quickly. Like I said, a lot of our surgeons are doing it in less than 2 minutes, is getting that set up. But there is a small learning curve. But once you
Yeah.
understand kind of how Thompson parts work and interact, it's really quick.
Yeah. And is the surgeon setting it up, or is somebody else on the surgical team setting it up for the surgeon?
It's up to the surgeon. They can kind of decide whether they want to or not. Most of the times, the surgeon will set it up with an assistant or two. The tech will set up parts in the back, but then it's usually the surgeon and his first assist who will set up the system to the table.
Okay. And
Mhm.
then what would you say usually clicks for them after their first few cases?
Definitely the mechanics of the Thompson and kind of the way that our parts function, I think really clicks. There's a lot of features that Thompson offers that can kind of be difficult to understand until you really get a hands-on feel. So once you do that, the first couple of cases, I think that that part really clicks, and then the whole rest of the Thompson parts really just make sense.
Right. Okay. So this show is called In Good Company, like I mentioned, where relationships drive results in a highly technical area like anterior lumbar exposure. How do long-term relationships with surgeons and OR teams influence how Thompson designs, refines, and improves your systems like this one over time?
hmm Yeah, our relationships are everything to us. Um, all of our systems are actually designed based off of surgeon feedback, and a lot of them are created directly with surgeons, like the anterior lumbar ring with Dr. Schaff. Um, so those that feedback really means everything to us. We actually have a feedback log. So anytime that we interact with a surgeon, whether it be over phone call, email, in person, a surgeon or staff, or really any user of the Thompson, we bring that feedback directly back to the team and log it into a log. And then we periodically review all of that feedback, and that drives a lot of the changes that might take place to our systems or development of new products as well.
Okay. So, I mean, to me, trust sounds like a huge issue with your stakeholders, your surgeons, the OR teams. Um, in your words, how important is that when surgeons are deciding to adopt a new retractor system?
Surgeons definitely want to be able to trust the retractor that they are using. As we discussed just a little earlier, this procedure, anterior lumbar interbody fusion, it, it can be very dangerous if you nick a blood vessel. So the surgeons really need to be able to rely on their retractor. And so being able to have a good retractor could be, life or death for their patient. So they really
Right,
need to be able to trust and rely. I would say it's one of the most important aspects.
right. Um, So you talked a little bit about this. So how does it, you talked about your feedback log. Is
Mhm.
there anything else that you can add in terms of surgeon feedback and how it specifically influences ongoing improvements to your products, specifically this one?
Specifically, yeah, I mean, I guess we just we really take it all case by case. We take all of their feedback, we log it and record it, and we our teams will go through and just continue to update and even follow up with the surgeons as well and make sure that what we're doing is still relevant to their procedures. If there's anything else that we can maybe create for them that's like a custom made piece as well. And then we will take that feedback that they give us and potentially put those products into our like actual marketed systems and not just a custom.
Okay. So, my next question is, it's another question relating to trust. So, from your perspective, what role do trust and long-term relationships or partnerships play in advancing surgical innovation, especially in something as critical as exposure and visualization?
Yeah, it definitely plays a huge role. I would say there has to be a level of trust for both the surgeon and the medical device company to develop something great. So we have to rely on surgeons for um, their feedback and that they're communicating their needs to us properly, and that they are going to use our stuff and just I guess give us the right feedback. And then they need to trust us that we're creating a product that's going to be reliable. So really it's kind of like a back and forth mutual beneficial relationship.
Right.
Um, so long term, yeah, it's definitely very important for us to be able to develop the best product, and it's important for them to be able to get the best product as well. I think in both cases, we want to be able to provide the best patient care we can. And so having that trust and that relationship is very important to be able to do that.
Right. And how does that trust ultimately impact patient care?
Oh, I mean, like as you said, it has to be I mean, you have to be able to have trust in order to develop the best product. Um,
Right.
but for us, we are working with these surgeons to really bring forward what we can to improve upon the patient care. So with Thompson Retractors, we actually have feedback and some studies showing that we can lower the amount of time in the OR for the patient, which is also really important and can contribute to patient care. So, yeah, having the trust really it does
Yep.
it brings about the best product, and then you know gives the best
Yeah, if you can
care we
if you
can.
can reduce the time in the OR room for the patient, they're
Hmm.
under
Under
for less
anesthesia,
amount of time.
yeah,
Yeah, so that's
yeah,
I'm sure that's a huge benefit for them.
yeah.
So if a surgeon or hospital is reassessing their approach to anterior lumbar exposure, what should they prioritize when evaluating a retractor system?
They should definitely prioritize something that's going to be stable, strong, and reusable, and something that they can really perfect and add to their workflow seamlessly. Something that could be hands-free, would be great and provide the same results every single time. So, um, Thompson can do that for for the surgeon as well, with
Yeah,
all of
yeah,
those hitting all of those little points. We provide stable
right.
and free retraction, and it allows the surgeon to really focus on the procedure and to ultimately give the best patient care.
Yeah, give me a little bit of background on how surgeons find and use retractors. I mean, are you getting um, surgeons and OR teams that don't use retractors at all? Are you getting people early on in their careers, or are you getting people moving over from other retractor systems?
So usually in anterior lumbar surgery, they're using a table mounted retractor, usually. Most of the time, surgeons will choose their retractors based off of what they use during training. So, in medical school or during the residency or fellowship, that's usually when they kind of develop a preference for what they want to be using. Um,
Hmm.
but a lot of the times they realize when they're actually out there in their practice that these systems are falling short And that's where we'll also get surgeons as well, is that they realize, hey, this isn't working for me. I need something that's going to be better. And that's how they end up finding us.
Okay, great. So on that note, if somebody wants more information about your products, where would they go to get that information?
You can go to our website. It is www.thompsonretractor.com.
Okay, great. So, Maddie, thank you so much for a great conversation today. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective and helping to introduce Thompson Surgical to our audience again, and with specifically the anterior lumbar ring retractor set. So, for listeners who want to learn more and find out more about you, where can they reach you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Madeline Witt. I am the marketing manager at Thompson Retractor.
Okay, great. And a call out to our listeners who are joining today. If you're enjoying these conversations, I encourage you also to check out recent episodes with Chris Reese, Senior VP of Sales at NeuroPace, a medical device company focused on developing advanced neurostimulation technology for people living with drug-resistant epilepsy. Also, Dean E. Carter, CEO of Instill.ai, an HR SaaS platform focused on improving employee experience and organizational performance. Thank you for listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks again, Maddie.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to In Good Company, where relationships drive results, with Lisa Kilray. Be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, stay connected and keep building relationships that drive results.